No, thank you very much, Noah, for that introduction. I mean, there's no joking. This is the biggest gathering of Champagne socialists the Labour Party has had for years, and that's because we're the party of aspiration. And I think it would be remiss of me as the Shadow Health Secretary, very much in the spirit of my interview with The Sun today, to say if someone could let us know where the pub is afterwards, you will be answering a lot of delegate questions, and you can certainly come along and ask me lots of questions there. So anyway, it's really great to be here meeting against the backdrop of a phenomenal set of election results in every part of the country only last week. In fact, not only did we see the election of a brilliant mayor in Richard Parker in the West Midlands, not only did we see the election of David in North Yorkshire in Rishi Sunak's backyard, even on Teesside, where Ben Houchen managed to cling on despite the unpopularity of the Prime Minister, the 17% swing against the Tories that Labour members on Teesside won was the biggest in the country and would have seen every Teesside seat go red. And the reason we have done that is because we have changed as a party, and we have recognised that you can't deliver change from shouting from the sidelines. You can only deliver change as a Labour government. Now, I've been coming to conferences like this for many years. I remember the halcyon days of progress conferences when we were in government. I remember slightly less fondly the progress gatherings we had under Jeremy Corbyn's leadership over those years. But if there is one piece of proof that Labour is back in business as a party of the centre ground, is that we are so relevant that people want to turn up and complain. So I think that is a further sign of the progress that we have made as a party. But look, I do want to address the elephant in the room today. And no, I'm not talking about people exercising their right to protest. I did a bit of that in my student days, quite honestly. But no, I know there's been some discussion about our new Labour MP, about whether they share our values and our traditions. But I can reassure you that having spoken to them and spent time with them, I can honestly say, hand on heart, Chris Webb's not as left-wing as people say he is. And he's actually a really good guy, and people should give him a chance, you know. But there is a serious note, which is, I'm really proud that our party is a broad church. Take Bel Ribeiro Addy, a member of the Socialist Campaign Group. I've known Bel for over 15 years. We worked together in NUS. In fact, we used to fight like cat and dog when we were in NUS. But I was so proud to see her elected as the MP for Streatham, and of the work she's done across a whole range of issues, particularly black maternal health. Now, I know it's a bit of a stretch. I know it's a bit of a stretch to expect Bel to be here this afternoon, but I do want to say for the record, I'm sorry, Bel, for ruining your lefty street cred. And continuing with the broad church analogy, our wing of the Labour Party has always understood that ours is an evangelical cause. We seek converts, not traitors. And before Keir was our leader, our party spent 4 years telling all but the true believers to F off and join the Tories. And millions of voters did exactly that. Today, there are millions of former Conservative voters who feel politically homeless, let down by the chaos, the rule breaking, and the incompetent clown show that is the modern Conservative Party. And what Dan Poulter and Natalie Elphicke have done, it is like being back at NUS conference, it really is. It's remarkable. Actually, I work for the people of Ilford North who've returned me to Parliament 3 times, actually. And, yeah. Turning back to our newest Labour MPs, what Dan Poulter and Natalie Elphicke have done is to make the same leap of faith that we're asking other Conservative voters to take, to put their faith in us. And what better message carrier could we have for those voters than the doctor who's concluded that only Labour can be trusted with the NHS, or the MP for Dover who's judged that only Labour has serious solutions to tackling the small boats crisis. So as those former Conservatives look to Labour for reassurance to judge whether we are the party for them, we have to send them a clear message. If you want to turn the page on 14 years of Conservative failure, if you want to get Britain's future back, then there is a place for you in Keir Starmer's Labour Party. Join us. The general election should have been held last Thursday, but Rishi Sunak chickened out, and voters sent him a very clear message in response. This is a country that is desperate for change. And you can judge the difference between Keir and Rishi Sunak by how they respond to defeats like that. When we lost the Hartlepool by-election in 2021, Keir heard the message loud and clear. He responded by slamming down on the accelerator and turning the Labour Party inside out, overhauling our rules, our shadow cabinet and our party machine. And today we are reaping the rewards of that change. The chaos in the Conservative Party may have put wind in our sails, but the only reason there are sails on the ship to begin with are the changes that Keir has made. It was a fight Keir knew we needed to have, and he was brave enough to take it on, because that is what real leadership looks like. And what a contrast. I mean, if they thought the first bit of the speech was bad, they should wait until... I've not even gotten to public service reform yet. It's going to be wild. But look, seriously, what a contrast between the leadership that Keir showed in the wake of the Hartlepool by-election and little Rishi's response to the elections the other week. He has let the message from the voters sail straight over his head, ducking the challenge of standing up to his party and proving once again that he simply isn't up to the job. So as we approach the general election, the public are looking at Labour as a prospective government and asking 2 questions of us. Have you genuinely changed? Had some really good evidence of that. And can you provide the change the country is crying out for? Yes. And on the basic tests that a Labour opposition must pass to enter government, there can be no question whatsoever that Keir Starmer has changed our party and dragged Labour back to the centre ground. We know what those tests are, the ones that Attlee, Wilson and Blair all had to pass to get a hearing. Can we trust you on law and order? Can we trust you on national security? And can we trust you with our money? And on each of them, we can once again look the public in the eye and confidently answer yes. And it's not cosmetic. We don't care about those issues because we need to in order to win. We will win because we care about those issues. We care about law and order because we see the way that drug abuse terrorises working class communities, as I saw when I was growing up on a council estate. The people who live in fear of knife crime and antisocial behaviour are our people. We care about national security, not simply because it is the first duty of every government, but because every war fought in modern history was fought and our freedom won by working class men and women on the front line. And they are our people. And we care about the public finances because we know how hard people work for the taxes they pay, and that we owe it to them to make sure that we take as much care with their money as they do with their own family finances, because they are our people. Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer have answered the question which has hung around our party's neck for years. What is the point of Labour when there is no money left? The answer is that it is precisely when times are tight that Labour is most needed. We understand the value of the pound in people's pocket, so unlike the Tories, our first and last resort isn't picking the pockets of working people. And we will never be as careless as this Conservative government has been in spending the public's money. Likewise, it is because Labour is rooted in our public services, because we come from them and we rely on them, that we understand how they need to change. There are those people who think I make the case for NHS reform because it's smart political positioning, or as a crutch to make up for the fact that there's no money left thanks to the Tories. But they couldn't be more wrong. Even if the Tories hadn't wrecked the public finances and the Treasury coffers were awash with cash, which they aren't, or if Rachel Reeves had a complete personality transplant and became a big spending chancellor, which she will not, our National Health Service would still require major surgery. It's a 20th century health service that's failed to change with the times, a hospital-based service when patients want to be able to see their GP and stay in their own home, a sickness service that doesn't do enough to keep people well, an analogue service when we live in a digital world. So simply pouring more money into a broken system would be wasteful in every sense, a waste of time that is fast running out, a waste of money that we don't have, and a waste of potential because the NHS has so much going for it. It will take a decade of change and modernisation to deliver the NHS that patients deserve, free at the point of use, there for us when we need it, fit for the future. And the NHS doesn't just need reform because it's failing to provide decent medical treatment, although it is and it does. It also too often fails to treat patients with basic respect. Using public services should be as convenient, easy, even joyful as any number of applications we use in our lives every day. It should not force patients to hang on the phone at 8 a.m. to book the next available appointment in a month's time. Patients should be afforded the same information, choice, and control as they would expect as customers. There are those who would cringe at this ask of public services, who assume that providing patients with a choice about how, where, and when they receive their healthcare is somehow akin to marketisation or even privatisation of the health service, who believe that if it's being provided by the state, we should just take what we're given and be content with it. But the irony is that these ideologically entrenched low expectations are precisely what drives people away from the left, delivers power to the right, and allows it to run down our schools, our transport, and our NHS. So there is a guiding principle that underpins my determination to see all of our public services reformed, which is that power, real power, should be in the hands of the many, not the few, and that the interests of the patient, the pupil, the passenger, those who use our public services must always come ahead of the interests of those who provide them. When I was diagnosed with kidney cancer, I was immediately surrounded by MPs and lords asking me who my surgeon was. They wanted to make sure I was receiving the best possible care. Now, in my case, it turned out that the surgeon the NHS had already allocated me was world class, and I owe my life to my consultant, Mr. Barrod. But the truth is that when the wealthy or well-connected receive a diagnosis, they know what to expect, who to chase, and how to push for the best care. That would never occur or be available to working class people like my mum, who's a cleaner in Lancashire, so people like her end up missing out. So it will be the driving mission of Keir Starmer's Labour government to end the injustice of the two-tier healthcare system emerging under the Conservatives, where those who can afford it are paying to skip the queue and go private while everyone else is left behind, and where the wealthy and well-connected get a better service for no extra cost than ordinary working people because they are able to exercise more choice, more power, more control over the service they receive. Yes, we will use spare capacity in the private sector to do it, because there is nothing progressive about leaving hospital beds to lie empty while working class patients lie in pain. We will also give power to the patient, all patients, so that when you receive a diagnosis, you'll be told what care to expect and by when. You'll be able to see which GP practices near you provide the best care for your condition, so you can choose to change your GP and switch if you want to. You'll be able to refer direct to specialists, so you don't have to wait a month for a pointless GP appointment before getting the care you need. And it's not just in the NHS where power will be spread through public services. What chance do kids from working class backgrounds like mine and Bridget Phillipson's have to discover their talents if they're taught in a school where the curriculum has narrowed and extracurricular activities have been cut back? Find me a private school, any private school in this country, that doesn't pride itself on giving pupils access to all the music, drama and sport that money can buy. In Labour, we believe that every child should have those opportunities, and that's why Bridget will reform and broaden the curriculum so that every child has the chance to shine. And how can people access the best job opportunities, skills and training, culture and leisure if they can't afford to run a car and the local bus services are run to suit operators rather than passengers? That's why Rachel Reeves led the charge for freezing fuel duty earlier this year, and why Lou Haig will be the Transport Secretary who allows every community to take back control of their local bus services, just as Andy Burnham and Tracy Brabin have done for their residents. Our party strives to break concentrations of power and spread opportunity, because our values drive us to serve the many, not just the privileged few. A new Labour slogan so powerful it endured during the Corbyn aberration and now finds meaningful expression with a new generation led by Keir. But as the party of public services, we have a special responsibility to guard against the occasional tendency of those public services to forget who they are there to serve. This week, I went to see Nye at the National Theatre, the story of the Labour Health Secretary who overcame years of hard opposition, not just from the Conservative Party, who voted against the creation of the NHS 22 times, but also from the British Medical Association, who initially opposed the foundation of the National Health Service. And what unites the best of Labour's broad church, from Bevan to Blair, is that understanding that patients have to come before providers, that users of public services matter most. The Conservatives abandoned the pitch on public service reform long ago. Ask Rishi Sunak about the NHS and he'll just say he's spending more than ever before. But the NHS is a service, not a shrine. It should be judged by how well it serves patients, not how heavy the price is that we're paying for failure. So every time Labour announces a reform we plan to make to the NHS, a piece of red tape we're planning to cut, how we'll make it easier and faster for patients to get the care they need, we are met with knee-jerk opposition from the Conservatives. Gone are the days of the Cameroons cosplaying as Blairites. Today's Conservative Party are the defenders of a broken status quo, the enemies of reform. And so once again, it will fall to us, the reformers, the modernisers, to deliver the change that Britain needs. And with Keir Starmer's leadership, we are a changed Labour Party, once again the political wing of the British people, ready to meet the challenge. And this year, we have the opportunity to do something that hasn't been seen for 27 years and has only ever been achieved 3 times in our party's entire history: the election of a majority Labour government from opposition. So let's make sure in the coming weeks and months ahead We leave nothing on the pitch. Know that every door you knock, every leaflet you deliver, every message you share is making a real difference. And it means, because politics above all else is a team sport, that if you wake up the morning after the next general election and you see Keir Starmer walking into Downing Street as our Prime Minister, you will be able to say that you did that. And when that Labour government gets to work, cutting NHS waiting lists, lifting children out of poverty, halving violence against women and girls, switching on Great Britain GB Energy, delivering Great British Rail, breakfast clubs in every primary school, mental health support in every primary school and secondary school, 13,000 police officers on our streets, and so much more, you will be able to say that you achieved all of that. So let's go out there and get the Tories out, Starmer in, and a Labour government transforming our country once again.